To you, the Minecraft Overworld and End lies on the same plane. In my YouTube post, I explained how I came up with the name Endspiriter and see if you guys can come up with a better name. There are a lot of people who gave really good ideas, but some of the names suggest abilities that this origin doesn't do, so I've decided to keep this name. The verb form of spirit means to be moved somewhere secretly. This origin allows them to move between the overworld and the end. This origin also has a couple of tricks that increases their inventory size. So without further ado, let me show you End Spiriters. The first ability is called Parallel Universes. Use G to move between the overworld and the end. You cannot wear armor, hold items in your hand, or carry chests or barrels, we'll talk about that later, while traveling. If I stand on this obsidian block and I open up F3, you can see my XYZ over here, 85, 64, -44. And if you press G, you get teleported to the end to the exact same coordinates. 85, 64, -44. You do need to remember that if you teleport to a coordinate that has no blocks underneath, you would just fall. So either store your items before you teleport or know exactly where you land. For this ability, there is actually a pretty major issue. That's not my fault this time, it's actually a Mojang bug. If you go into the official bug tracker and you search for 124177, and you will see an issue titled teleporting to another dimension loses some client states. For example, if I have a couple of levels, as you can see that was bugged in the first place. If I have a couple of levels and for example I splash myself with night vision, if I use G to go into the end, you can see that I temporarily lost the potion effect and also my XP, but it's actually still there, it just doesn't show up. Another issue that is much more dangerous is that if there is a mob that is targeting you and then you switch over to the different dimension, it will still be able to hit you. And even if you have hitboxes on, you will not be able to see the mob. So try to use this ability only for transportation instead of combat, especially in PvE. Number 2, feeling safe at home. In the end, you are stronger, faster, and more resistant. You also take no fall damage. When you jump while looking straight up or down, you jump 5 blocks high. Endermen also ignore you even if you attack them. So in the end, you get speed 1, strength 1, and resistance 2. And no matter the height, you will take no fall damage. If you look straight up or you look straight down, you can see on the top right that you have jump boost. And then you would be able to jump 5 blocks high. And in the end, no matter how long you look at Endermen, or even if you hit them first, they will not attack back. Do remember that they still attack you in the overworld and the nether, so I guess that's still a pretty good way to farm for pearls. The third ability, Resourceful. You mine end materials faster than others. You can always pick up end stone regardless of the tool you're using. You can also craft stone tools, brewing stands, furnaces, and levers with end stone. You will always be able to pick up end stone. Even if you just use your fist, it takes a little longer, but you will be able to pick it up. So you can basically use endstone just like cobblestone. You can craft all the stone tools, and you can also make furnaces. You can also make brewing stands, and you can also make levers. There are 9 types of blocks that you mine quicker than other people. Endstone, endstone brick, obsidian, crying obsidian, purple block, purple pillar, purple slab, purple stairs, and purple stained glass. The full block, not the glass pane. Because these, other than the crying obsidian, are blocks you can only find in the end. Number 4, bridging. In the end, right-clicking with one of the following blocks gets you banned on Hypixel. This is disabled when you're sneaking. If you have one of the 7 blocks, basically all the end blocks except the purple slab and stair. If you have, for example, endstone in hand and you're not standing on a solid block, you can right-click anywhere. It would take the block in your hand and place it below you. So if you hold right-click and just walk forward, it will place all the blocks beneath you. But if you want to save some blocks, all you need to do is to time your clicks. You can also use the jump boost ability that you have to get to high places very quickly. And since you take no fall damage, you can just hop off at any time. Now let's show you abilities that aren't necessarily used in the end. Number 5, Pocket Dimension. Swap your inventory items with your ender chest items by using X. The X is the default key for load hotbar activator, and since it doesn't really have a function in survival mode, I just decided to use it. Now, if I have, for example, these endstone in my inventory and I press X, you would see the little load bar show up and a little ding. And then you would see that my stuff is now stored in my ender chest. If I put the orb in my inventory, they are swapped. This is a very simple ability, but it's very helpful because it pretty much just doubles your inventory size, and half of that is stored even after death. The way I made this is that I used a chest minecart. That's the wrong button. The way I did this is that I used a chest minecart. So then if you're not standing on a solid block and you look directly beneath you, you would see a flash of a chest minecart sometimes. So if you see that or you see minecart rolls in your subtitles, that's why. Number 6 and 7, Spirited Away. Use the secondary key in front of a chest or barrel and you'll pick it up. Use it again to put it down. And then directly after that, if you die or move too fast, the container that you're carrying can fall and drop to the floor. So basically, if I have this chest that has a bucket inside, and I stand right in front of it, and I use my secondary ability, I pick it up. You would see the indicator bar show up, saying that you have a chest on your head. And now you can just walk around. For example, I want to place it right here. I just have to face in the direction and put it down. And now the item is still stored inside. If I switch into spectator mode, you can see a vague shadow of an armor stand, and that's how I did it. It's an armor stand wearing a chest in their helmet slot. And then there's an invisible falling block as the passenger of the armor stand that stores all the data. Since there's an armor stand constantly being teleported to you, your reach is actually limited when you're standing still. When you're walking forward, you can get away with it slightly. But then as soon as the armor stand catches up, then you would lose your reach. So if you want to take stuff with you and constantly be carrying a chest above your head, then you need to remember to put it down somewhere so you can actually interact with your world. This also works with barrels. So if you, again, be one block in front of the barrel, face it, use your secondary ability and you'll pick it up. And again, it's going to be on top of your head. This works in all 4 directions, and for barrels specifically, you can put it above you or below you. For chests, it also works in all 4 directions, and you can place it, there's a piece of grass there, you can place it inside water as well. For example, there is a chest inside water. I can also pick it up, but you take damage, and I'll explain that in a second. Ow. So now let me just explain some of the unintentional features. This is an ability that technically works, but it is not recommended to do, just in case you lose your stuff. For example, if I have a bucket inside this chest, if I want to place it on top of the barrel instead of at the location of the barrel, I could technically jump and place it, but there is a slight chance of you losing your items inside the chest if you do that. While you are picking up or putting down a container, if your location changes and you're no longer in front of the container, then it does not store or apply the data correctly, and you could lose your stuff. So try and stay still when you use this ability. Okay, another thing to note about this ability, if you open up a loot chest that hasn't generated loot, as soon as you lift up the chest, all the items inside are going to pop out. So if you don't want that to happen, all you need to do is to open the chest first and pick it up. Then it will not explode like this one. If you die or move too fast, the container can drop onto the floor. If I just do /kill, you can see, I was worried for a second there, you can see that the chest falls to the floor. And then you can just pick it back up and place it somewhere else. But you do want to be aware that if you're, for example, on a block that doesn't really allow falling blocks to stay on, then the container would drop as an item, but the item would not contain the items that were stored inside. For example, if I have a barrel and a barrel, I pick it up, and if I just come over here and then I do /kill, and I come over here, oh, it actually stored it. I did not expect that. I was expecting it to drop as an item. Or does that only work on chests? Let me check. Kaboop. What? It works on pressure plates. I mean, it didn't work on slabs. I guess it works on pressure plates? I'm not sure why though. Sometimes you get lucky, I suppose. The move too fast bit, you actually have to move pretty fast in order for the container to fall. If you just sprint, it's totally fine. Okay, every tick, this armor stand is teleported to your location. And it will fall if it goes out of a, I think, 5-block radius of your player. So you gotta go pretty fast in order to do that. I think I managed to make it fall by like soaring downwards with an elytra and then boosting with fireworks at the same time. If I just fly upwards, it actually stays. Okay, now for the downsides. Extreme aquaphobia. You take damage from water and you experience intense anxiety around everything water, to the point where you struggle to breathe when you're near any. You also refuse to use potions, pour water buckets, or touch blocks near or in water. As you saw before, if I just go near water, I start to lose air. And when my air runs out, I take damage. If I back away from it, I'll start to gain my air back. The losing air is actually separate. It's actually a separate mechanic. If you're actually underwater, your air loses very, very fast. And you don't gain air until you get away from water. So you die very easily if you fall into water. Obviously, if I just touch water, I take damage like normal. I take damage just like Enderians and Blazeborns. You experience intense anxiety around everything water, even in their item form. Even if there is a potion in an item form on the ground, you would experience anxiety. This also works if you're holding the item and if someone else is holding an item near you. This also works for cauldrons with water filled at any level, and this also works when you're near a brewing stand with a bottle in it. It doesn't matter what type of bottle it is, if it has a bottle, you would experience anxiety. You also refuse to use any 3 types of potions. If I right click, I will not be drinking it. If I right click with a splash, it doesn't splash. Same with the lingering. You can scoop up water with a bucket, but you can't place the water down. You can still use your water bucket to catch fish and axolotls though. You also cannot interact with any block that is waterlogged. If there's a block that has 3 faces touching water, you wouldn't be able to break the block. If there is 2, then I can break it. If there's a block that has water directly above it, you also cannot break it. Last but certainly the least, foreign. You are unfamiliar with the creatures of the Nether and you take more damage from them. You also don't trust striders enough to ride them. You take 50% more damage from Nether-specific mobs. This includes piglins, piglin brutes, blazes, magma cubes, wither skeletons, etc. Not just because you're in the Nether. It's the type that counts. So for example, that skeleton over there, it's not going to do any more damage than it usually does because it also spawns in the overworld. I'm assuming this only applies to melee damage. I didn't really do a whole lot of testing on this. You also don't trust striders enough to ride them, so as soon as you hop on a strider, you would start to lose air like the Aquaphobia trait. And that's about it for the end spiriters. This has been a really fun origin to make, and I hope you enjoy. And I'll see you next time. Goodbye.